but I would sleep nowhere near as much as my body needed. And then I would do hardcore routines and obviously get up from an alarm. And then I'd do hardcore pump up affirmations, state management rituals in the morning. And so my body was in, whoa, adrenaline, cortisol coursing through my body saying, yep, go, let's do it. Sympathetic nervous system activated. Boom, let's go. And so I was running off adrenaline. And after doing that for years, no coffee, but synthetic way to pump myself up, aka not a natural. It's not natural for me to do that. There's no actual danger. I'm pumping myself up because I've consciously chosen to do that. And after doing that for 7 years straight, I had massive adrenal fatigue where I'd completely burnt out my adrenal glands and they stopped working. And it took 3 or 4 years for them to recover to get to a healthy level as determined average in society, but not as healthy as they would have been before all of that. And I'm still recovering them piece by piece. So, guys, the way that the world works at the moment is not healthy. So we had 10,000 years ago and earlier, let's just say 5 hours a day on average is how much time people are working. Now it's 8 plus traffic, right? 8 minimum. Used to be 5 or 6. Now it's 8. That's a big difference every single day. That's hundreds of hours different. Wait, what is that? 5? That's like 1,000 hours more work a year. That's wild. And then we used to sleep way more. Now we sleep way less. We used to be in nature all the time. Now we're barely in nature as a collective modern society. And so the extra demands on the brain and the amount of things that we have to do is just outrageous. It's outrageous. And then what's happened? Why are we in this cycle where this is a normalized loop? Well, in 8,000 BC, when agriculture was first discovered and experimented with, then we started to have leverage for the first time. So a little bit of side general knowledge. The world capped out in terms of the amount of humans that could occupy it at about 6 to 8 million people with a foraging approach. So the way that we've been able to cram in close to 8 billion people now, which is more than 100 times what it capped out at before. No, hang on a second. That's 1,000 times. Whoa. So foraging, 6 to 8 million people around the world. Agriculture and leverage of food sources, 1,000 times that. That is so crazy. And then what happened was when coal first became big, coal was first introduced, the combustion engine that could power things with coal. Then the Industrial Revolution happened and we started to leverage things significantly more. And what happened is the same amount of space we can, using farming and agriculture, it leveraged crazily. And then people, instead of just working, like I said earlier, what were people working for? Food, to protect against predators, shelter, and procreation. That's it. And then the rest of the time was just chill, fun, storytelling. Let's have a little tribal meeting. Let's go do an initiation. Let's go hang by the river. And I've seen a little bit of this culture by being around certain indigenous people. And it's a very, very slow, relaxed way of being. Very slow, relaxed way of being. Not overworking. And usually the sort of work that these people are doing is labor, not overthinking in the mind. So then if we go, well, before we were working for what we needed, when agriculture first started, then we started to be able to introduce more things to do. Because for the first time, the manpower required to get the basic necessities met could be met in leverage by less people. So if you had 1,000 people in a location, all 1,000 people are working in some way to contribute towards everyone having food. Now, all of a sudden, maybe 500 people could work in the field and tending to the animals, the farm animals, and produce the same amount of food. So now you've got 500 people that can sit around and do nothing. And then more things started to get introduced. Things like more political structures, the idea of learning, the idea of art. And there was more space for some of these other beautiful things in the world that we now have. And with the extra space and time and density of people, all this innovation and ideas with now some of the population has more free time, led to the exchange of ideas and globalization to happen, because as there was a higher density of people together, then over time there was the incorporation of written language and the exchanging of the ideas that were created during that, because of the big portion of the population being able to do other things. So now you have different sorts of food, and now you have dentists, and now you have hairdressers, and now you have all this other industry. Now you have television and entertainment industries, and now we have social media, and there's all these other things that didn't exist before. Before, everyone was just doing their part to get the bare needs met and then chilling the rest of the time. Now people are working for industry. There's other factors that inspire and motivate people to work. We're not just working for bare necessity. And if you did work for bare necessity and all that you cared about was survival, then you could probably what could you live off? I'm just going to say in Melbourne, because I probably live off like 40 grand a year. And that's not a huge amount, but let's say I moved out of Melbourne and I go to a cheaper area and I'm in a share house, paying $150 a week in rent. Okay. If I really wanted to eat cheaply, I could eat for $100 a week. So that's $250 a week in bare necessities. Let's just go outgoings, phone, just stuff like that. Basic dental, healthcare. Let's say another $100 a week. So I've got $250, $350 a week. So I could probably live off $350 a week, which is like $17,500 a year. $350 a week. Then this is just if all I cared about was survival. I didn't care about designer clothes, didn't care about having a cool car, or like these are all bonuses of modern society. No one had cars back in the tribal days as foragers. There was no cars, and who's got the coolest car? There was no let's buy these expensive clothes, and oh my gosh, like even all the props in this room. So I'm not saying this is what anyone should do. I'm just saying what would be possible if we were operating in the same way that we would have been operating from a mindset perspective 10,000 years ago and before that. And you go $17,500 a year, $350 a week. So if you're working at a cafe and you're making $30 an hour, you work for 15 hours or even less. Let's just say you work 15 hours a week, 3 hours a day. So if all you cared about was food, shelter, there's no predators to worry about now. So we can just scrap that. And procreation, you could survive on, at the moment, 3 hours of work a day. So why then are people working 8, 9, 10? I used to work an average of, what's 7 till 9? 14 hours a day times 7, 84. Yeah, I was working 14 to 18 hours a day. for a solid 7-year chunk.